Couple Outfitters specializes in adventure gear. Anything you need for getting outside, Couple Outfitters has it and more. Go have an adventure now. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bass Tour Anglers podcast. Our guest today is in the midst of his third season on the BASS Elite Series. He is the 2018 Angler of the Year for the BASS Central Open Division. He's finished in the money an impressive 28 times out of his 31 Bassmaster events. He won the BASS Elite Series event at Lake Guntersville in 2020, and he is Bassmaster Classic bound as we speak. Welcome to the show, Frank Talley. So we're about a week and a half out from the Bassmaster Classic at Lake Ray Roberts. I'm not fishing it, but I am excited about this. This is really a neat time of the year. I especially like it. I think it's going to be challenging being in the summer like this or close to the summer. But I imagine that you're getting a lot of stuff ready to go. I'm kind of wondering what kind of last minute preparations you've got going right now.
Honestly, I've been really glued to the weather up there. I'm still about 170 miles south of the lake. And so, I've been glued to the weather as far as not necessarily the heat or the cold. I've been looking at the rain, the rainfall. They've been getting a lot of rain up there. And the lake was about a half a foot low, probably about 3 weeks ago. And now it's about 2.5 foot high. So the way I want to fish is, of course, I want to fish shallow. And I think that's my best chance of actually doing well in the classic. So, of course, if it was 3 or 4 foot high, which is getting closer, I think it would really put that shallow game ready to be able to. I think you can catch them shallow and win shallow.
Okay, so you're in terms of preparation, you're watching the weather and the water levels.
Yes, sir. And I've also been fishing just about every day. I've been fishing some offshore lakes that are around me and just trying to, get into that mindset, because a lot of times just just fishing offshore, even if it's not a lake that sets up like Ray Roberts does, it still gives you confidence. You go out there and you catch 15 or 20 fish offshore, it's still going to give you confidence to fish offshore, up there. There's not many lakes that set up like Ray Roberts. The only other lake that's really similar to it is Lake Fork. They modeled this lake after Lake Fork. So, but it just never took off like a Lake Fork. And I think it's because of it just doesn't have the fertile waters like Lake Fork does. That's the whole giddy up there, is it's got a lot of big fish in it, but it just doesn't have the numbers.
In terms of like last minute tackle deliveries and things like that, is everything coming on time, or you got all that stuff ready to go?
Oh yeah, Strike King is they've actually sent me a bunch of rods, also a bunch of signature series rods that are coming out that will be debuted in the classic, and you guys are actually the first ones to hear about it. That wow. They'll debut at the classic. So they've sent me a bunch of rods and to try, and then also a bunch of last minute tackle, like you said, some bigger worms if I have to fish offshore. 10-inch worms in Texas in the summertime go hand in hand. And but yeah, I've got everything there. I've got some line came in from Seagar, and so it's just I'm just ready. Honestly, my boat's running better than it ever has this time of year, and I'm just ready to get out there and see what happens.
I can imagine that's the kind of stuff that you just want to have done, so it's not something that you're worried about. Sometimes I can just imagine, you got to overnight something from somewhere or something like that. You got to worry about it getting there, but that's a good feeling to have all that kind of stuff dialed in. When do you actually leave? You're there in Texas. When do you actually leave to the tournament?
I'll leave Thursday afternoon. Practice starts Friday, this Friday coming up. I'll leave Thursday afternoon. It's about a 2 hour and 45-minute drive from my house. And I'll get up there, check into a hotel that's right by the lake. And then Friday morning starts practice from basically daylight to dusk, dawn to dusk, for 3 straight days. And that's another thing that really, Keith, is tough about the classic is you practice a week before the actual tournament starts. And then we get to practice Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then boom, we don't see the lake again except for one day on Wednesday. So a lot can change, especially in a springtime event. But being like this, where fish are in transition from spawn to post spawn into summer patterns, you might find them somewhere on Friday, and then by a week later when the tournament starts, it's similar to like a local event, where you can usually practice the week before, the weekend before, and then it's off limits during the week. So fish can be moving, and you think you found the glory hole, and then all of a sudden, you show up on tournament morning and all fish are gone.
Frank, you kind of in that area. I mean, how much experience do you have on Ray Roberts?
Honestly, never have fished it until this fall, like before it went off limits. And I had practiced it because it's not a big tournament venue. A lot of regional stuff doesn't really fish it because it's known to be a tough lake. It's got big fish in it, but it's not a numbers lake, and so a lot of the tournaments steer away from it. So I had never fished it until November and December of this past year before it went off limits on January 1st. So, and I practiced for it to be a March Classic. So I've looked for a bunch of pre-spawn areas and that type of stuff. Well, of course, with COVID, it got delayed and now it's in June. So really I haven't even looked offshore or anything, or those mid-range areas, where they could be transitioning from shallow to deep. And so it's going to be a new lake to me too, even though I got to spend probably 6 or 7 days total on it in the fall and the winter. Other than that, I haven't seen it since December.
Ray Roberts is pretty close to the Dallas area, right?
Yes, it's actually closer to the Oklahoma border. It's through Dallas. It's outside of Denton, so it's only about maybe 45 minutes away from the Oklahoma border. It's in North Texas, yes, sir.
But it's near big population centers, so I imagine it gets hammered quite a bit by locals.
Yes, it does. It does. It gets a lot of pressure, by the locals through like Fort Worth, especially, Fort Worth and Dallas, basically the same cities. They're split apart a little bit, but yeah, it does get throttled up there by locals. And there's a few guides on the lake from what I understand, but it's a decent sized lake. It's somewhere between 25 and 29,000 acres. So it's just like I said, it's a spitting image of Lake Fork. It's broke down into two arms, two Ys, an east arm and a west arm. And so it just lays out. It's just got a lot of timber in it. People want to know what it looks like. It's got a lot of standing timber in it, a lot more rock than Fork has. Does have a lot of rock in it, a lot of standing timber. And no grass. It used to have grass, used to have good hydrilla and milfoil. Doesn't anymore. There's very little, if any, left in it.
Koppel Outfitters wants you to go have an adventure now. Koppel Outfitters specializes in adventure gear. Anything you need for getting outside, Koppel Outfitters has it and more. Go have an adventure now. So this will be your second Bassmaster Classic. How will you approach this differently than the first one?
This one for sure. I'm all business in this one. The first one, no doubt, your very first classic, you're in awe. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how it all goes down, and you've got media in your face 24/7, and you're just it's just But I respect the media, because if it wasn't for the media, we couldn't get our names out there like we do. So I mean, it goes hand in hand. But this time it's all business. It's in my home state. I'm ready to fish it. I mean, no doubt, I'm going to have tunnel vision. I know how to handle the media now. I know how to handle all the activities and stuff that they've got us doing in the off week. And now I kind of know how to just keep my time and designate my time to the media, designate my time to the fishing portion of it. So I'm excited. I'm there to do one thing. Nobody remembers, Keith, who came in second in the Classic, unless you're Aaron Martins that's done it 4 times. But other than that, first or nothing. So I'm going to go swinging for the fences, no doubt.
Yeah, I can just kind of imagine, because I've attended these things. I've attended these before, and you get back after the day's fishing, and you'd like to sit down and do your tackle and get it ready for the next day, but but you don't get to because there's a big press conference, and then you walk through the show, and then you this, and then by the time you get out there to the boat, start working on tackle, it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Next thing you know, it's it can wear you down pretty quickly. How do you avoid that?
Honestly, what I try to do is I try to get as much as I can get done in little avenues of time. In other words, like when you weigh in on the first day or any day, but on the first day, and then you're like 30-40 minutes before you can actually weigh in, and you're in line waiting to get your name called to go through the arena. That's when I start doing tackle. Then, you're just sitting out there, instead of just sitting in the truck thinking about how your day went, I'm out there doing tackle. Any little bit of tackle prep you can do and getting your stuff organized, even if it's 10 or 15 minute windows, that's what you need to do. And I didn't do that the first time. I kind of was in awe about everything going on. And before you know it, like you said, I was up till midnight a lot of nights trying to get my tackle done. And this time, I mean, if there's 5 minutes, I'm going to be out there at least rig a rod or two, to help out. So it isn't near as bad come the end of the evening.
That's some very cool insight. I think that's the kind of thing that the average person just never sees or hears about. But I mean, I know because I walk through the parking lot and I see these guys, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and I go, wow, you got to get up pretty soon, man.
Yes, exactly. And, a lot of times, like I know that, the first classic, I literally was up, me and actually Keith Poche, he fished it too. That happened to be in 19. And we kind of struck up a little friendship and stuff. And heck, me and him were up at like 4 a.m. in the boatyard doing tackle and stuff, even if it wasn't and I'm not talking about the day of the tournament. I'm talking about the week when we didn't have much going until 8 o'clock in the morning. So we'd be up at 4 and we'd be the only two out in the boatyard at 4 a.m, doing tackle, because they do have it really nice in the boatyard. They have a designated boatyard, and they've got lights with generators and all that. So you can work on tackle 24/7 if you have the time. So, I mean, and a lot of times that's the best time to go because, media's out there, everybody's walking up to your boat, they want to talk to you. So you get pulled away from doing the tackle and stuff. So really, when people are asleep is the best time to get your tackle done,
Yeah, I sure do. So now this year's classic is technically, I mean, I guess we're calling this summertime. I mean, it's not officially the first day of summer yet, but it's more summer than it is spring. What kind of patterns are you expecting? You talked about some offshore stuff. This could be a big live scope Panoptics kind of an event. Do you agree?
Oh, guarantee you it's going to be. Yeah, there'll be guys out there definitely live scope, and it sets up for live scope. It's got really big flats, it's got ledges, it's got channels, it's got standing timber. No doubt it'll be a big live scope event. It'll also be, like I said, with the water coming up like that, and if they don't sit there and turn around and then release it all and it starts dropping, it could be a dang sure be a shallow water fest too. I mean, we can actually catch them really well in shallow water because the water temperature isn't summertime yet. Everything's been behind all year because of the winter. And so that water temperature up there and being further north than central Texas, like our water temperatures around the house are only 75 to 77 degrees. So up there might only be 72, 73, So, I mean, technically they're not going to be bona fide offshore real thick. They might be, making their transition out there, but it might be small secondary points, or, stopping on pond dams or tank dams, before they make the transition to out deep for good. So, I mean, it could be a lot of great fishing from 3 to 10 foot of water, no doubt.
So when you launch that boat for the first day for the classic practice on Friday, tell me the rods you expect to have on your deck and what baits you plan to have attached to those rods.
I'm going to have definitely have some square bills on, spinner bait. Definitely going to have frog, some top water stuff. I still think there's going to be a shad spawn up there, and I know that people are like probably going to listen to this podcast and say, hey, it's going to be, it's first part of June, but I really believe there'll be a small shad spawn going on left over. And so I'm going to try to, make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, on that. If I can find a good shad spawn spot or two, I'll definitely be looking for it. But yeah, top water, some angler asset spinner bait, Strike King square bills, basically shallow water stuff, swim jig, that type of stuff. And then I'm also on the right hand side of the boat, I'm going to have some deep stuff. I'm going to have, some 6XDs, 5XDs tied on. I don't think you're going to have to need an 8 or a 10XD. I don't think they'll be that deep, but definitely have, some heavy shaky head, Magnum shaky head tied on, maybe a flutter spoon, Carolina rig, that type of stuff for deep, so I'll have both, one side of the boat shallow, one side of the deck deep. So, and then but of course I'm gonna try to turn over every twig up shallow before I have to go out there deep. That's for sure.
I love that organization. So you got your shallow rods on the left side of the boat and your deep stuff on the right side of the boat.
That's how I've always done it, Keith.
That's
just
awesome.
I don't mix them up. So I'm like, one side's deep, one side's shallow,
That's awesome. My boat, God, who knows where it is? It's all over the place. That's good to have some organization. I love it.
And I'll have a Thunder Cricket tied on, but with not being any much grass and stuff in the lake, and I've done several articles, and I mean, a vibrating jig works really well around timber and stuff like that too. But I really have a feeling that crankbait, a square bill and that type of stuff is going to really perform, in my opinion. But I'm not going to leave that poor Thunder Cricket on the deck. It'll get thrown around quite a bit just to see.
So now let's shift to the tour now. The remaining tour dates for the season's Elite Series, it swings up north. What's your comfort level with those northern lakes? Are those is that part of a learning curve for you still, or are you happy to battle with those smallmouth?
I'm actually happy to battle with those smallmouth. Now, last year, my first year on tour, I struggled at the St. Lawrence. I struggled up north, period. And I thought you had this preconceived notion that you had to fish a certain way for these fish, to do well. Well, last year, all three events we had up north, which was St. Clair, Champlain, and the St. Lawrence, which we're fishing both those, Champlain and the St. Lawrence again. I caught and did really well. I think I finished in the top 20 in both tournaments up there, and that was fishing less than 3-4 foot of water. I was catching them on square bills. I was catching them on a Thunder Cricket. I was catching them on top water. I mean, I fished it like you would fish a southern fishery for largemouth, and it really capitalized and it played well for me. I even at Champlain, dropped a lot of milfoil, a lot of grass with a 1 ounce jig and a 1 ounce rodent, just dropping milfoil and caught them that way. So I'm excited to go back up there. But yeah, I actually came out really well in those two tournaments. So I'm ready to get back there. They're going to be earlier this year than they were. They're a month earlier than they were last year. So those fish actually could be, more in a spawn thing. We might even actually get to do some bed fishing for smallmouth up there, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. It's so difficult this year to try to compare anything to last year, because last year everything was moved to such a different time of the calendar. There's really no comparison. So you're right. You might be up there when they're spawning. And that's another thing. The classic, and then we have 2 events left in the Elite Series. The Elite Series will be done, by the end of June. What do you do the rest of the year, Frank?
Honestly, I'll be working. Honestly, I'll go do a lot of fishing, but I'll be working a lot. What I mean by working is me and my wife and still own a hydraulic shop here in Central Texas. Like, we build reseal hydraulic cylinders and build hydraulic hoses and that type of stuff. And we have employees, and we have a pretty successful little hydraulic shop. So I'll be working there. And then my title sponsor, which is Texas Boat World / SDG Marine. I'll be doing work for them in the off season, doing a lot of promotions and stuff like that. So between those two, I'll be busy, but I'll still get to see the lake at least 2 or 3 times a week. I always get out there and do some fishing, but it is going to be a boring deal, Keith, because I don't know what I'm going to do for 6 months. That's a long time, before the next season starts. That's for sure. It's going to be different.
You are there team tournaments to fish? Are there things like that are available?
Yes, there is some team tournaments, but most of them have wrapped up by then. A lot of the championships are going on right now because they started back in February and March, and my son, he's 18 and he's real big into, we try to fish together and hit some jackpot tournaments, fruit jar tournaments, just wildcats. But he tried to get us into a few of them this past weekend, and they said, no, we're not going to let Frank fish these right now. So yeah, and I'm like, geez, you guys got more experience on these lakes in the last 5 years than I do. I've been on tour and across the country. I don't even fish the local stuff anymore, so I'm not up to date on it, but that's cool. It's fun. We'll figure out, we'll find something to fish and stuff, because I love to fish competitively, regardless if it's the Elite Series or if it's just a local Tuesday nighter or Wednesday nighter. I just want to fish competitively. And so, fishing for fun is still cool to go out and do. But honestly, what gets my motor going is definitely fishing for some money, whether it's $100 or $100,000. I still love to fish for the money.
Awesome. Well, Frank, look, best of luck. We'll be keeping a close eye on you. I hope everything goes well. And that'd be pretty cool to see you take that trophy home.
Oh, I'd love it. I would love it. If I do, that's you get a steak dinner for sure. So
you'll have to come.
Yeah, you'll have to come out here. Yes, sir. But Keith, I really appreciate you having me on and give me an opportunity to talk about the Classic and stuff like that. If it wasn't for gentlemen like you, then we couldn't get our names out there. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll make sure that we have a post-Classic show, and we'll talk to you about the experience, and we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot, yes, Frank. Hey, best of luck, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
All right. Take care.